Hi everyone, this is Jim. First of all, I wanted to let you know that I'm really busy at the moment and will be so for the next week or two. So I won't be able to do my normal chess blitzed games with live commentary and postmortems that I've been doing every Monday and Friday for a while. I'll put out an occasional video if I have the time, but if you don't see anything from me for a while, that's what's going on. And nothing to worry about, and hopefully I will be back to my regular schedule in a couple of weeks. So for today, I thought I would show you a game I played recently. It was kind of cute. This is the Ponziani opening. I have the opening position of the Ponziani on the board. Let's go back to the beginning of the game and show how that position arises. My opponent, by the way, is rated 1919. My rating is 1902, and this is a casual game, meaning it's not rated. So the result of this game is not going to affect our rating in any way. So we can just play for fun. My opponent, who put up the challenge, he asked for a casual game. He asked for the white pieces, and he asked for a time control of 7 minutes with 11 seconds increment. So a little bit of an offbeat time control, but slower than my usual time control of 8 minutes with only a 4-second increment. So plenty of time to think about our moves. You can think of this as being somewhere in between a blitz game and a rapid game. So anyway, he started with e4. I played e5. He went knight f3. I go knight c6. And now there's lots of moves here for white. The most popular, the famous Ruy Lopez or Spanish game with bishop b5. There's also bishop to c4, the Italian game. There's the Scotch game with d4. But he played c3. So this is known as the Ponziani opening. And whenever white plays c3 before playing d4, so you have pawns on both d2 and c3, and there's an e-pawn here, you should automatically think, how can I attack that pawn? Because it's not defended. The e-pawn on e4 is not defended. And the knight, the natural moves of the knight to defend that pawn are both taken by white's pawns. Those squares are both occupied, so we can't play that. So the two main moves for black here are knight to f6 and d5. And d5 is the way I usually play against the Ponziani, but knight f6 is fine as well. I thought I might as well show you the few moves of the opening line. So it would go like this: knight f6, attacking the pawn, d4, not meekly defending the pawn, but counterattacking. White can grab, and then black doesn't take back here. I suppose that's playable, but it's even stronger to push on with d5, drive this knight back, and then develop with bishop to d3. But this position, white is still a pawn down at the moment. White will probably get the pawn back at some point. But black's development is pretty comfortable as well, and so this is actually about an equal position. And that's one of the problems with the Ponziani is that basically black can equalize. And then the way I played it is with d5. I think this is actually a little better for black even. So he took, which is actually a rare response. The main move is either bishop to b5 or queen to a4. Once again, letting the pawn hang for a moment. And it's kind of tricky. Queen to a4. And the move to remember here is you can play the move f6. So he's pinned your knight. He's threatening to take the e-pawn. You need to defend it. And this is actually a very convenient way to defend the pawn without losing contact between the queen and the d-pawn. For example, if you had played bishop to d6 instead of f6, then this pawn on d5 would be hanging. So f6 is the move here, and it's also because his queen is on this side of the board. He doesn't have any queen coming out to check the king on this side of the board. Let's see. This continues after f6, bishop to b5, and knight g to e7, defending the knight. And this continues, but once again, black has got a comfortable position. And it's probably about even, but I actually kind of like black in this position, so that's why I play it. And that's why I choose this line of the Ponziani with black, and why I don't play it as white. So anyway, I went d5, and he just took, which is an even simpler way of playing, but this presents no problems to black at all. You just take back, and he put bishop e2. And I could get a really good position already. In fact, I could win a pawn by playing e4. In fact, I had a recent blitz game with this same theme, right? If you can push that pawn and drive this knight to a bad square, you probably should do it. The chess engine actually says the best move is knight to d4, but this just loses a pawn. And but I guess the other squares aren't too attractive for the knight. In any case, I didn't play d5 once again, or e4 rather. I was once again just a little bit too preoccupied with my own development and not really looking at all the opportunities on the board. So don't. This is the first point in the game at which I can say don't play the way I do, but be alert and look for those opportunities and try and cash in on them. So anyway, I played knight f6, just developing. He castled. I went to bishop f5, another developing move, and he went d3. He could actually, and I was surprised he didn't play this. d4 is a decent move for white, and this is what I was expecting. I was planning to push on with e4 and just kick his knight around. The chess engine actually gives e takes d4 as best, and c takes. And it thinks white is fine here, and maybe even has a slight opening edge because of my somewhat imprecise play in the opening. So white is doing fine here in spite of the isolated pawn. He's got active diagonals for his bishops, and his pieces will develop with no trouble. This knight will come out with a tempo on my queen, and white should be fine there. But he just went d3, so a very quiet and unassuming move. And here I did notice that I have an opportunity. I played the best move, so I occasionally find good moves. I castled queenside. It's nice. It gets my king to safety on the other side of the board, so I can maybe think of doing some pawn storm types of attacks against this king. At the same time, I've now got three pieces attacking the d pawn, and he really doesn't have a good way to defend it. Even pushing it forward no longer works. I can just take it. So he played the defensive move, knight to e1, a pretty terrible move if you have to play this way in the opening, but it was given as the best move by the chess engine, so it needed to be played, I guess. One of the best moves. I think there were other options. So anyway, I pushed on with e4 now, after the knight has moved away, but thought I could just bust up the center a little bit. And once again, I was expecting him to play d4, and I would get this kind of position where I have this advanced pawn that's maybe a bit of a thorn in his side, and pretty decent pieces. Instead, he went c4, kicking my queen. And after this, black is actually winning, so it doesn't take much to tip the balance in this game. But you know, I've driven his pieces back, and you know, my queen doesn't have any trouble finding decent squares to go to. I want to be a little bit careful of this diagonal that he doesn't, you know, get some kind of skewer coming back at me. But I've got good control of that square at the moment with both my knight and my bishop, and I'm just going to win a pawn here in the center. And so anyway, he develops here with bishop to g5, and I go ahead and grab the pawn. Takes. Let's see, just moved his bishop away to f3. I suppose that's a reasonable move here. I went knight to e5 here, just ganging up on his bishop. He went ahead and traded, trying to get out of trouble this way. And he's going to damage my pawn structure here, but I'm not too worried about this. Well, first of all, I can throw in knight takes f3 with a check. And then he paused to think about which way he wanted to take back. He ended up taking back with a knight, which is reasonable. And then I take with the pawn, I take this bishop. So we've got a situation where I have two bishops against two knights. I have this advanced pawn, which is protected, well protected, and it's passed. And I have some open files, so it really doesn't matter that I've got doubled pawns. This is actually just a winning position for black with good play. So let's see, he continued with knight to b2, knight b to d2. I went bishop to g4. I thought, yeah, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to put this dark squared bishop. Obviously, I want to develop it, and I want to put a rook on the g file, and those are moves that I'm thinking of. But I thought, well, first let's reposition this bishop, pin this knight, and maybe I can get some pressure on the knight with a queen move over here, simultaneously attacking the knight and attacking this pawn, maybe threatening to trade here and win the pawn or something like that. So I think that's a reasonable move, even though it's moving the same piece twice when I haven't developed the bishop. But I still, like I said, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to put this bishop. So he went rook e1 here. I think that's reasonable. And then I was looking at this position, and I came up with an idea. And so this is the second place in the game where I have to say you shouldn't play the way I do. So, but what I noticed is this is a position where I could think about the fishing pole attack. Well, first of all, I had kind of a mental slip. I was thinking that my queen was on d6 on this diagonal, and I was thinking what would happen if he played h3, and I realized if my queen was on d6, I could actually play h5 for the fishing pole, a famous fishing pole attack, and that is a situation where the fishing pole actually works. And then I realized, as I was thinking about this some more, that my queen actually wasn't on e6, so the fishing pole is not on in this position. If he wanted to kick my bishop, he could. But, you know, the idea had kind of lodged itself in my brain, and so I started trying to think of ways to set it up. So I played the move f5, and the only purpose of the f5 move is to prevent his knight from coming to e4 so that I can play my queen to d6 and he won't chase it away immediately. So that's really not a good enough reason to play that move, f5. So I have to say that's a mistake, even though I still have an advantage after that. It's just that my position is so good to start with that a few weak moves are not going to destroy it. But I have to say that the logical rook to g8 is the best move in the position. And if you want to be a good chess player, if you want to improve, you should always be striving to look for that best move in a position and trying to play it instead of looking for ways to set up cheap tactics. But on the other hand, cheap tactics can be fun. And this is a casual game I'm playing for fun. So I played f5 here. And he didn't kick my bishop immediately, which was fortunate for me. I would have had to think about where to put the bishop. He played a3. So that's a weak move from white as well. And so I went ahead with queen to d6. Once again, rook g8 would have been a better move there. But now I've set up the fishing pole. I went queen d6, and right on cue, as if asking for it, he played the move h3. And so I went ahead with h5. So I played my famous fishing pole. Now the thing about the fishing pole, and one reason why it's not so great, is that white can just ignore it. He could play queen a4, and now I can't really do much in this position. The chess engine is saying I should just play a6 to defend my a-pawn, and the game would continue. Black is still better just because I have the bishops versus the knights, and I have a little more space in this passed pawn. This gives me kind of long-term advantages that even my unusual play has not gotten rid of. I have not lost those advantages just yet. Although I seem to be working on it. So white's still in trouble in this position, but he could play on. He wouldn't necessarily lose. Instead of playing h5, the chess engine points out I could have actually already taken on h3, played this check with my rook, and then brought my queen over, and I just have a winning attack here. So that's let's see, he has to play something like h4 to stop me from taking the pawn, and then I can lift this rook up to g4, and I just need to get this bishop out of the way and bring another rook over, and I've just got an overwhelming attack. And so a straightforward attack like that is actually the best move in this position when I played the fishing pole. But I went for it anyway, and he took it. So the point is, if we think about this in general, if he takes the bishop, you take back with the pawn, and then it chases the knight. And if the knight moves away, then you've got queen coming here, mate. So you at least win the knight back in most instances when the fishing pole is working. you win the knight back at least if white plays accurately, and if he continues to make mistakes, you can just mate him on the spot. So it's kind of a fun attack. But then my opponent here played a move that that surprised me. He played h takes g4. He took it. I took back. And then do you see what idea he had in mind? He actually didn't want to give me the knight. He wanted to keep his extra piece, and he wanted to stop me from mating him. Can you think of a move that white might have played and with those two objectives in mind? Okay, he played the move knight to e5. But let's back up and just say what he should have played at this point. He should have just given me the knight. Let's see, he could have continued with g3. I take, he takes. And, you know, I still have a open h-file that I can attack on, and I've got my piece back. So, you know, it's like you get a free attack. You get a great attack along the h-file, and you don't have to invest any material. Let's see, do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, I even have an extra pawn at this point. So, so this is all good for me, even with best play at this point. But anyway, the move that he played to try and stop the mate and to keep his extra piece is knight e5. And I hadn't actually had not thought of this move at all. I had just thought the way I explained it to you, that I'm mating if he doesn't move the knight. I mean, if he moves the knight, I'm mating, and if he doesn't move the knight, I take it. So I either get my piece back or I win immediately. But I hadn't calculated this move, knight to e5, which stops the immediate mate and saves the piece. But this move is actually a mistake, and white is still, or black is still winning here. And do you want to find the best move here for black? I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. Or, well, pause the video if you want time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away now. Not too hard to see. The immediate follow-up is queen to h6. Just take advantage of that open h-file. And I was thinking, I really did not see an answer here for black, how he could defend this. Notice that my advanced pawn is guarding the e2 square, so we've been running with the king, which sometimes will get you out of trouble in these situations. Does not work. But he found a move that allows him to survive a bit longer. He played the interesting move f3. And now here's a second tactical quiz here. Can you find the best move for black in this position? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. There's more than one winning move here. Of course, it's just an overwhelming position, but there's one move that finishes it the quickest, and I hope with that hint you found the move g3. I like these little moves that don't make any checks. They don't threaten any pieces, not threatening to capture a queen or anything like that, not threatening a massive fork. All it's doing is it's taking away the escape square from the king, and now there's no stopping queen to h1 mate. And so he resigned, and I looked at this later with the chess engine. There is no move for white in this position. After I played g3, white resigned, and that's how the game finished. Okay, so that's it for this video, and just a reminder once again, I won't be uploading videos regularly for the next week or two, and hopefully I will get back to my regular schedule soon after that. So see you guys later.